because we're entering week 6. We are over 1/3 of the way through the semester. And so I guess I would like to ask you guys today, because normally we're heading toward mid-semester break. Everybody's saying, wow, we get this nice kind of little break in the middle of the semester. We don't get that this time because we are going straight through to Thanksgiving. That's how we're managing the semester. Right now, I'm just curious, what has you guys stressed? Is there anything that's stressing you out? Is there anything that's making you feel tired? What is making you stressed right now? Yes, sir.
Going into the flu season.
Going into flu season, yeah, so we got competing illnesses now, too. So you can get a flu shot for sure, but that is stressful. That's stressful for us old folks, too, because we're wondering, if we're going to be able to tell the difference between one or two. What else has you guys stressed right now? Yes, sir.
Being overworked.
Yeah, so how many big tests are you studying for right now? Too many. And so time management, you're really being put to the test with that stuff, aren't you? How are you managing that stress?
Finding a time to do one thing, so I play tennis, so I have to do that as well. So.
That is wonderful stress relief and stress at the same time because you want to perform well. Who else has some major stress going on in their life right now? Yes, what's going on? What's stressing you out?
School, the fraternity thing, and track.
So you got 3 things you're trying to balance. How are you managing your stress? You're not. That's not good. That can be really tough. And the biggest thing too, guys, sometimes I find that when we get stressed, like check this out, we got all these things going on at the same time. We got schoolwork. We have competition. We have life. I mean, guys, we all have families and people we care about, and that stuff weighs on us too sometimes when people in our family are not doing well. And we have all this stuff like stress about the future. Here's the trick. All this together, man, this can sit on your chest and take the air right out of you. What are some ways in which you can make this more manageable? What are ways in which you can take this big ball of stress and break it down? Any thoughts, guys? I'm sorry? Yeah, absolutely, man. You ever heard there's a terrible joke. And the terrible joke goes like this. How do you eat an elephant? The answer is one piece at a time. You've got to break it down. You can still eat the whole elephant, even though it's huge, but it takes time. So if it means, how many of you, by the way, by show of hands, are list makers? I'm a list maker. I have to break things down. How many of you try to break things into priorities? Yeah, priorities are important. Because it's like this, guys, you got to do the big things that are really important first. A friend of mine gave me a really good example one time, and at least I thought it was a good example. We'll see what you guys think. Let's say, for example, these are all rocks, man. These are big rocks. We got school, that's a big one. We got competition, that's a big one. We got life in general, family, all these things. And you're trying to fit all these rocks in the same bucket. The trick is you got to put the big rocks in the bucket first. Worry about those first. And in terms of priority, I will never tell you what your priorities should be. But we got family. In my life, family is right up here. And friends are real close to that because they're like the family you pick for yourselves. And then there's work. And then there's everything else. So just remember, have your priorities straight. Your family will be there for you. Your friends will be there for you. School's important, but it has to always come in under the things that are keeping you together. That's my 2 cents for today. Sorry for preaching at you, but it comes down to the idea that we're in week 6 of a long semester, and it's okay to be stressed. Here's the other thing, too. You got resources, guys. If you need help, and this includes me as your teacher. If you ever need help managing something, come see me. Talk to somebody. There are lots of wise people around here whose entire job and livelihood are trying to help you figure this stuff out. Well, let's jump in, guys. Today we're going to be continuing Chapter 3. After we get done with Chapter 3, we're going to do our first test. And you guys remember, if we get a grade, if everybody in this class gets a grade of a B or above on our first test, it looks like we're going to do online tests after that. You guys are cool with that? That works for you guys? Awesome. Guys, LinkedIn, last call. If you have made changes and you haven't heard back from me, email me. I want to get you as big of a score as you can get. And if you didn't do your ethics discussion posting, this is last call for that as well, to give you a good grade for that particular posting. I don't know why my voice is cracking today. Maybe my voice is going to finally get deep. I don't know. What we have to do this Friday, guys, and I may even extend this deadline a little because of you guys being overworked and stressed. because we're talking about going international, because we're talking about international business and how to take business international, I'm asking you to pick a product, either one that you own or you would like to own. It can be anything from a car to a pair of sneakers to a wasabi plant. Tell me why you want it. Why is it so desirable? Tell me what country that it's made in, and tell me if you think it should still be made in that country, or if you could move it somewhere else to produce it somewhere else. An example might be, if I like a car, for example, are there any Subaru fans in here? If you're not, the WRX is a very high performance car. They're still made in Japan. I might say, for example, I might want to make them in the United States. What would be the challenges? Well, parts could be a challenge, supply chain could be a challenge, and even getting good labor could be a challenge because that's a very high performance automobile. That would be an example of how I could do this assignment. Don't worry about it being longer than a page. A page of well-written stuff is great for this. And again, right now we're currently due Friday, but we are probably going to extend that deadline. So we left off talking about franchising. Guys, let's catch up a little bit here. I was using the example of Chick-fil-A on this side of the room to Kent Tompkins Chicken Shack over here. The folks over here at Chick-fil-A have some advantages over Kent Tompkins Chicken Shack. What might be some of the advantages that these folks at Chick-fil-A have over Kent Tompkins Chicken Shack? The name recognition, because everybody knows Chick-fil-A. It's got a reputation. And when you hear the word Chick-fil-A, what are the words that pop into your head, guys? Chicken, for sure. Tell me, what else pops into your head? Your stomach start to growl a little bit? Just salivate a little bit? You start thinking about those nuggets or the spicy sandwich. Spicy is my favorite. Yeah, we got a reputation. Which is easier to market, Chick-fil-A or Kent Tompkins Chicken Shack? Chick-fil-A. Nobody's coming to Kent Tompkins Chicken Shack. We got one location. We can even have supply chain issues because we got to set up our own supply chain. If you set up a Chick-fil-A, they do a lot of it for you. You got the brand recognition. You got the supply chain. You got people who want to occupy spaces next to you. By the way, that's called the coattail effect. What that means is when you get a Chick-fil-A or Chipotle, you'll probably get another restaurant right next to it because people want to get the spill off from the restaurant that's drawing all the crowd. So these are great ideas. You get brand recognition. Some of the challenges, however, are things like local taste. I'm going to show a quick video for you about some of the things that franchises do around the world to cater. You did at McDonald's while you were there? They made a thing called the local platter. And by the way, McDonald's, or not McDonald's, but Hawaii, is the largest consumer of a certain meat product, a canned meat product in the country. Anybody know what it is? Spam. They're the largest consumer of spam in the United States. And the reason being is they've got less tillable land. They can't grow livestock like we grow here in the continental U.S. So they eat a lot of spam. Their big breakfast at McDonald's is Portuguese sausage, spam, and rice. You can even get what they call spam rolls over there that are basically like spam sushi. So when you go to local places, you got to adapt your franchising. If you go to a McDonald's, for example, in Germany, there's something you can get there that you can't get here. Anybody know what it is? Beer. You can have a beer with your McDonald's. I love this because this is a shot of the pizza they were talking about, the mega pizza in Japan. The very fact that the crust is made out of hot dogs is pretty amazing. This is kind of what people in other countries think we eat in America. So we're moving down the continuum. Franchising is pretty easy. But one thing easier than franchising, if you want to get into a foreign market, is licensing. Just to recap, why is licensing so damn easy? What's easy about licensing, guys? What is licensing? Help me out. Yeah, we're selling our brand. For example, I'm trying to see if anybody here has any pro football merchandise on today. If you're wearing a Steelers jersey or an Eagles jersey or a whoever jersey, that's a licensed product, guys. It's very easy to make money off this sort of stuff. When you get into franchising, you're selling somebody the rights to use your supply chain, and it's kind of like licensing, but more extreme. Then we get into cost manufacturing, or contract manufacturing, I should say. That means we're paying somebody else to make our product for us. Well, the good part is you don't have to deal with it. I want to be able to have you manufacture for me. I want you to make blue jeans or cars or smartphones. The challenge to contract manufacturing is maintaining control. For example, has anybody ever bought two different pairs of jeans, the same cut from the same manufacturer, and had them fit differently? Had that happen? That's why we have to try clothes on. That's why clothes are more difficult to buy online? It's because we have a lack of quality control. If you buy a pair of Levi's, for example, that were made in India or Egypt, the quality of the denim is different than a pair that's made in Mexico. So there's a big difference. You have less control as well. Yes, sir?
Have you went shopping recently for clothes?
Once in a while.
Because I had to literally try on pants while I was standing there because you can't get a fit.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. That would suck. I'll put it to you this way. Like what I typically do is when I find a cut that works for me, I tend to buy the same thing over and over again. But even sometimes then, I've been buying most of my stuff online, and you can't try and send them back. But it's tough because you got to wait. Yeah, it really is tough to buy clothes right now, and that's one of the biggest problems with this pandemic too, is how do you know if it fits or not? In terms of some of the other disadvantages for this sort of thing is consistency and, again, quality control when you're manufacturing someplace else. Then we get on what we call joint ventures and strategic alliances. These two terms can get very confusing. When you say you have a joint venture, it means you're going together to make something. You're sharing expenses, you're sharing expertise, you're getting out and saying, well, have you guys ever heard the expression, many hands make light the work? And that means we can partner. Guys, check this out. Ford and General Motors, the biggest thing that they sell in their mainstream fleets are trucks. They're selling more trucks and SUVs than anything else these days. In fact, if you look at GM and Ford, Ford made the decision 3 years ago to say we're getting completely out of cars other than the Mustang. The only car they're going to continue to make is the Mustang. Everything else is crossovers, trucks, and SUVs. Well, it's expensive when you're refreshing vehicles this often, guys. In the old days of the automotive world, literally, the Ford F-150, their biggest selling vehicle, basically did not change from 1980 the whole way to around 1996. Could you imagine a company in 2020 saying we're going to leave a product alone for 15 or 16 years? They get killed in the market. So as a result, they had to put more money into innovation and manufacturing. That's why they had a joint venture. Ford and GM jointly developed their 9-speed automatic transmission for their pickup trucks. It's the same damn transmission going into two of the biggest competitors in the market. So a short-term venture means we're going to go together, we're going to make this product, and we're going to get out. When you go long-term, that's what we call a strategic alliance. That means that we're shaking hands and saying for the long term, we're going to hang out together and we're going to make products together. I'll give you an example. Even though most of us use iPhones, there's a component of Samsung in every iPhone made. They make processors. They make pieces for circuit boards. So long term, Apple and Samsung have a relationship, even if they're occasionally suing each other. So that's an example of a strategic alliance. So the advantages of both of these kinds of arrangements are, again, you have more people who are coming together and trying to make something work. You're getting more intellectual property. Some of the challenges are, well, are these really that different? If a Ford and a Chevy have the same transmission, they're starting to seem more alike all the time. So that you have to share the intellectual property and you have a less unique product in the end. Then we get into more challenging stuff, guys. And that is we're going to set up a factory and we're going to control it and we're going to own it. We're not going to manufacture under contract. We're actually going to own our own presence. Let's say, for example, I'd like to hear from you guys on this. It's Monday morning. We need to get some blood pumping here. Let's say, for example, we decided we wanted to set up a satellite campus at St. Francis in another country. What country are we going to, guys? I'm sorry? France. We're going to France. Fantastic. Guys, what would be some of the challenges of setting up a satellite campus in France? Yes? Absolutely. We have some French teachers here, but how many of you guys are fluent in French? Yeah, I'm not either. If they ask me to teach, I'm going to need training or I'm going to need a translator. So we have the language barrier. What else might be challenging? Language for sure. Over here, what might be challenging? Currency. Yeah, we got currency exchange. Time difference. Yeah, we can't have the same people teaching unless they're teaching in the middle of the night potentially. Over here, what else might be a challenge? What might be a challenge to setting up in France? What do you think? Mr. Smoltz, what might be a challenge? We have branding, absolutely. You might need a local partner there, somebody who is able to chum people in. So maybe we're going to partner with a French university to set up over there. or maybe some kind of French firm or company. The challenges are we got different cultures toward education as well. If you go to Europe, for example, has anybody here ever been to Italy? What part of Italy were you in? How did you like it? Yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to Parma, did you go to Florence while you were there too? Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I'm going to give you guys an illustration of how things work in Italy if you're a teacher. Essentially, you stand at the front of the classroom and you'll sit up here for 4 to 5 hours and you'll lecture. What I just did walking around the room asking you guys questions. By the way, this is kind of nice. I feel very powerful up here. I wouldn't ask you questions. I would talk the entire time. You guys would take notes, and at the end of it, I would walk out the door if you had a question. You would be lucky enough to talk to my teaching assistant or maybe catch me in office hours. But that wouldn't happen in an American university because you wonder what you were paying for. So we got a cultural difference there as well. I might do that more often. That feels very empowering. Like I felt like a statue up there. But we got all these advantages that we can control what we're doing in terms of a product because we're actually controlling the company. Our challenges are we got to translate the culture. We got to translate potentially to time zones. We may have to have a local partner. There's a country, for example, who is very, very big on having local partners to get to set up a business. What country requires you to have a local partner if you want to do business in their country? England? Nope, not England. But it is one of our 3 biggest debt holders. It is China. If you want to set up over in China, you got to have a quote-unquote local partner. There's a little extortion going on there. We want to keep some money in our pockets as well. And then we get into something called counter trading. Counter trading goes something like this. Let's say in the United States, like right now, because we have this damn pandemic going on, and we were pumping oil like crazy the whole time. It took us forever to shut down. So we might have an excess of oil. In fact, does anybody remember when oil went into negative trading? What did that mean, by the way? Back when oil went into negative territory, what did that mean? We're losing money because it was costing more to store the oil than it was actually worth. Unbelievable. Let's say we got all this oil sitting around we don't know what to do with, but China has all these rare earth elements that go on our smartphones and all our technology. And we may say between our governments, we're going to arrange for some barter. We'll give you this oil if you guys will give us these rare earth elements. And counter trading means we're trading and doing barter for goods that our country needs. Now, we may use a commercial company or a partner to make that happen, but our governments actually make that connection happen. It's very complicated. It happens in rare instances. And when the bigger and more industrial you are, the better chance you have access to big resources like this. In addition, guys, if we go to certain countries, for example, if your currency is worth 2 things, jack and squat, you may actually be using American dollars instead of your own currency. So, any of you guys know who Chris Farley is, by the way? You've never seen the movie? Like my favorite expression is, who here has ever seen Matt Foley, motivational speaker? Yeah. Chances are that what you're up to might not amount to jack squat. I absolutely love when he does that. Matt Foley, motivational speaker. With the looks on your faces today, we're going to have to start a class with Matt Foley at some point. Get you guys moving. But yeah, your currency might not amount to jack squat. So, guys, in terms of the ways that we can get into the marketplace, let's just walk through this one more time because I want you guys to understand. Here is easy, over there is hard. Easy is licensing. Why is licensing easy? Anybody? What is licensing? Help me out, guys.
You get paid for people making the product.
You're basically getting paid because somebody is using your license or logo. Okay, that's easy. We're going to move up to franchising. On this side of the room, why is franchising easy? Because it's easy, man. Why is it easy? Derek, why is it easy?
I don't know.
Well, if you have, what's a franchise?
Like, say like Chick-fil-A, they have, I don't know how to explain it.
Oh, yes, you do. You're on it, man. Go ahead.
It's just like somebody buying into your business.
Exactly right. You already have the model Wiles page.
You're like buying into a franchise, so it's like already established.
Everybody knows who we are, right? All right, we're going to go from franchising. We're going to make a big jump over to contract manufacturing. Why is that a little harder? Exactly right. You can't control the quality and you have cost. Then we're going to go to next, joint venture strategic alliance. Why is that tough? What's one challenging part if you're developing a product with somebody else? Differences. And if we're developing it together, if you and I go together on a project, we both own it, don't we? So neither one of us has something that's unique. And then we're going to foreign direct investment. What's so tough about that? What's so tough about foreign direct investment? I'm sorry? Yeah, culture. It's different. We got culture, we got currency exchanges, we have all these things that are tough to negotiate, and we're operating outside of our home country. Counter trading is a little different than all of it, but it means barter, it means this for that. All right, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about politics and national culture and all of these things in an economic standpoint. But before we do, I feel like we need a tension break. You guys it's Monday morning here, guys. What should we talk about before we get back into the economic environment? Actually, I have a question for you guys. Here's my question for you today. I'm going to walk around the room and I'm going to ask everybody to answer this question. When you're having a bad day, what's something that makes your day better? So think about that for a second. I'm going to walk around the room. When you're having a bad day, what makes your day better? I'll share what makes my day better. When I get home at the end of the day, even when my wife isn't happy to see me, my Jack Russell Terrier is always happy to see me. He greets me at the door, makes me feel like a rock star. He makes me feel like I'm the one person on planet Earth. I love having a dog. What's something that makes you feel better when you're having a bad day? Let's go. We're going to start at the back of the room. What's something that makes you feel better when you're having a bad day? Music. Any particular genre that gets you moving? Great, man. Gets the blood pumping. What makes you feel better after a bad day? Music is power, man. It's like fuel for the soul. What improves your day? Yeah, man. Get the endorphins going. Yes. Going to bed, getting some sleep. Going over here. What makes you feel better after a bad day? What are you playing these days? Nothing wrong with that, man. Keep it all into the sports stuff. What makes you feel better? Relax. How do you relax? That's my favorite thing in the evenings, putting my recliner up, just being in the moment. What makes you feel better?
A dog.
What kind of dog?
A wiener dog.
Dachshunds are like the best. How old's your dog?
4.
And is it your only dog?
No.
You have a bigger dog too?
Yeah, that's
Who's the boss?
wiener dog.
Yeah, they're amazing animals. What makes you feel better?
Music.
Anything in particular?
Old school rap. Pretty much.
Old school rap. Like, are we talking 80s, 90s? How old
Like
school?
Wu-Tang, Biggie, Tupac.
Classic. What makes you feel better after a bad day?
I don't watch TV shows.
Anything in particular you're watching these days?
Right now I'm watching Lost.
Oh, nice, man. I'm not going to spoil the ending for you. What makes you feel better?
Getting pictures of my dog.
You miss your dog, don't you?
Yeah,
What kind of dog?
a French bulldog.
They're the best, too. I love those ears. So, what makes you feel better?
My dog.
What kind of dog?
I have a Boston Terrier, Jack Russell.
Oh, my goodness. So that's a hyper animal. How old is your dog?
7.
Well, They can live for 20 years. You have a long-term investment there. Yes. What something makes you feel better?
I like my dogs.
What kind of dogs?
I have a German Shepherd and a Pit Bull.
That's awesome. So who rules the roost? Yeah, they're great dogs. Misunderstood dogs. What makes you feel better? Anything in particular? The original trilogy or the prequels? What's your favorite? I think Empire is the best. That's my pick for best. I'll be checking in on you to see what you think. What makes you feel better? Sleeping is always good, man. What makes you feel better? Push-ups, really? How many can you do?
Straight.
Yeah. 110. Oh, I'm not putting them on the spot for that. at 9:30 in the morning.
Not gonna do my shit.
I did 50 and a sitting one time, and that was as many as I could do. I did it for charity, and that was enough. What's something that makes you feel better?
Spending time with family.
Oh, it always recharges the soul, doesn't it? You guys get to be our closers. What makes you feel better?
Warm shower.
Oh, yeah, man. I did that this morning. I wrapped up our water bill this morning. Yes.
Video game.
Video games. What are you playing?
Madden.
Madden. All right, guys. Well, here's why I stopped to ask you that question, because when we get into week 6, as we were talking at the beginning of class, it can be a little overwhelming. Whatever you guys are doing here for self-care, please do so. Keep taking care of yourselves. And here's the thing, you can't work all the time. How many minutes can you possibly pay attention for? Not even 30, closer to 16 to 17. That means you need a break once in a while. Build time in for the breaks. And by the way, for anybody here who has a pet, you guys mentioned your dogs. Dudes and dudettes, send me a picture of your pets, and we'll start off Wednesday with a brief slideshow with pictures of your dogs and cats or snakes or whatever. If you will send them to me, I'll put them in the slideshow. You guys in?
With bonus if we submit it to the
It depends how cute they are. Depends how cute they are. We'll see. All right, guys, but let's get back in for a little bit. Give me and your lives, give me another 12 minutes to 15 minutes, depending on how these slides go, of your life, and I'm going to give you your money's worth today. So let's talk about it, guys. We have a lot of international stress going on right now between the U.S. and China because we're in what we call a trade war. It's rooted in multiple things. Here's the thing, guys. The term nationalism sometimes gets turned into an ugly word. People are saying, oh, that's a nationalist belief. Nationalism unto itself is not necessarily bad. If you want to believe in your country and you want to take care of your country, that's not necessarily bad. The point where nationalism becomes bad is when we start thinking that we don't need to think about our impact on anybody else. So it needs to be balanced. We have different types of cultures. For example, if we're in the United States, we're a highly individualized culture. When we say we're an individualistic culture, what does that mean? We say we're not collectivist, we're individual focused. What does that mean? Any thoughts? Let me ask you this, guys. Who's setting the limit on how far you can go in your careers? Nobody. Yourself, exactly right. We prize the individual. When you look at our role models, when I say, I'll ask you guys collectively, tell me somebody who you see as a personal hero. Somebody outside of your family that you see as a hero. Who's somebody you like or respect?
Pat Tillman.
Pat Tillman, tell me why.
Well, he gave up all the money in the NFL to go fight for our country every season and ended up dying because of it.
And it was a highly individualized choice, wasn't it? Nobody made him do that. He did that on his own. Great example. Who else has somebody they like or respect? I know you guys have heroes. Help me out here, guys. Who's somebody you like or respect? Like could be a stretch, but I will tell you, I respect Steve Jobs. In fact, he was very committed to his vision. He had an idea for a product. He wasn't a nice human being, but he was a visionary. And he took his product as far as he wanted to go. So we have people that we like and respect. We love the individual. We love the success story. If you talk about somebody who is rags to riches in this country, we say he or she pulled himself up by his bootstraps. You guys, raise your hand if you've heard that expression. It means that we believe in the power of the one. And we get into more Eastern or Asian cultures, for example, they are more collectivist. For example, if you work in a Japanese company, you're going to be going through multiple levels of authority and paying your dues before you make it in the company. And the idea being that we as individuals are not valuable in certain cultures, we collectively are valuable. So we have different takes on culture. And if you go to Asia or India, they are more collectivist cultures. What does that mean? It means when we're doing business, if we're doing business with a country in a foreign land, for example, that's more collectivist, we don't talk about what's in it for us. We talk about what's in it for us. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, in terms of other things too, we're going to talk about ways in which different ideas have been lost in translation because when we talk between countries, for example, we have different ways of communicating. Here are some examples. This is the original President Bush in the 1980s, from 88 to 92. He was visiting Australia. And Australia, of course, one of our closest allies. A lot of people don't realize they had a big stake in World War II. The Australians bore heavy losses in the Second World War as our allies. So he was visiting to basically say, hey, we're glad we have a relationship with you, and he gave the peace sign, or the V for victory. Anybody have any idea what that means in Australia?
Isn't that their middle finger?
This is what it means in Australia. Just cover up that finger. He didn't mean to do it. He thought he was doing something good, but he missed the gesture. And then we get into other things that happen sometimes. Richard Gere, who was an American actor, kissed an Indian actress in a very conservative part of India where there are no public displays of affection. During the Obama administration, when Michelle Obama was visiting the Queen of England, she touched her. You do not touch the Queen, and that is a cultural standard. And then finally, David Cameron, who was the Prime Minister of Great Britain years ago, was wearing a pin with a poppy on it. Poppies, of course, are used to make an illicit drug called, begins with an O, opium. And he wore those in China in a place where they had actually fought a revolution to get the poppy farmers out. He didn't mean anything by it, but he didn't understand the culture. For example, guys, when we shake hands in the United States, what hand do we typically use? Right hand. There are certain places in the country where, you know, if somebody's left-handed and they reach out with your left hand, you still shake it, right? If you go to certain parts of the Middle East, that's considered to be unclean. That is considered to be the hand you use when you go to the bathroom. And so there are things that you need to understand. Let me ask you guys this. When we get to GPS, we get to Siri and all these sorts of things. Why is the voice always female? Any thoughts? This is a cultural issue. Why is the voice always female?
Because females are always right.
I'm sorry?
Females are always right.
You're ready to get married, man. You're absolutely ready to get married. But seriously, why do we always have female GPS? What was the thought of the original designers? Any ideas? The original thought was that the female voice was more comforting. That the idea that if we were getting lost in a place, for example, who's the first person we always call when we get into trouble? We call mom. And so the idea being, if it sounded female, it would be more comforting. There are certain countries where GPS was always made male because certain countries, for example, what we refer to as, I'm trying to think of the right term to use here, but it would be a male-dominated culture. For example, some cultures such as Germany and even Saudi Arabia did not want to take orders from females, and so they had male GPS. On their iPhone or their smartphone, do you guys do anything with that? Have you changed Siri's voice? Has anybody ever played with the settings? It's funny because the male voices sound jarring when you first hear them because we're so not used to hearing them. And the term I was looking for, by the way, was patriarchal. In terms of patriarchal cultures where they tend to be male-dominated, for example, the first GPS units actually came out in BMW cars, which are made in Germany. And the German male drivers did not want to take orders from a female. And so I don't use that to put judgment on people. I actually have mine. My wife gets jealous of my digital assistant sometimes because I have her set with an Australian accent. I think it sounds pretty nice. And she has used some choice words for my settings on Siri. That was too much information. Probably shouldn't have shared that with you guys. We're not getting divorced or anything. We're all good. But that being said, guys, here's the deal. We are going to break it right here if somebody will end the day with either a good question or some words of inspiration for the rest of us. So either a good question or inspiring words. Who has a good question or something inspirational to say for the rest of us? It's not so bad. It's Monday morning, but we're going to get through it. What question or some inspirational words? What do you say, guys? Somebody here has to have something to say. Yes? So we're attributing that to Michael Scott, or who are we attributing that one to? Yes, I'll give you an air high five for that one. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. We'll see you Wednesday. Remember, send me in pictures of your favorite pet, and we'll do a little slideshow at the beginning of class.